Support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
My early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
But it gave my mom and me more time to plan, together.
Talk to your family about seeing a doctor. Go to alz.org/time-to-talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
It's time to go one-on-one with DP. Coming at you live from the Koppel Chevrolet GMC studios. Here is your host, Derek Pearson. Brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
It is a happy Monday. We made it through the storm. Well done. Wind's picking up. I think it's not done. So we're expecting a little bit more wind and rain and thunder over the course of the night. But we appreciate you hanging out with us on a Monday. 402-464-5685 is the Starter Hammer text line. You want to be a part of what we're doing. Want to jump on the streams? Please do. LO Channel 961, Facebook, YouTube, X, etc. And again, a reminder that you can find these podcasts or any of our podcasts. You can find them on Spotify. You can find them on Amazon Prime as well. So get the new, whatever way you consume this content, this is a good way to do it. Of course, we'll archive it and have it available for you later. It's Monday. That means one thing. One man, let's hit his music.
The autumn wind is a pirate, blustering in from sea. With a rollicking song, he sweeps along, swaggering boisterously. His face is weather-beaten. He wears a hooded sash, with a silver hat about his head, and a bristling black mustache. He growls as he storms the country, a villain big and bold. And the trees all shake and quiver and quake as he robs them of their gold. The autumn wind is a raider, pillaging just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and laugh when he's conquered and won.
That's so good. Coach Barry Thompson, Fairfax Football Academy. What's happening, brother?
DP, I'm all kinds of fired up today. Let's get after it.
Let's get
it going.
Hey, man, listen, a couple of things are in the water, a couple of oars in the water, and you and I were talking about that list you said of the best 5 programs in college football and the things that they have in common, the 5 people that they stay consistent and constant with. If you would please give the folks that 5 so we can start.
It was a continuity. I think you better track the 5 because remember I had a slight pitch on that. Somebody had done a study of all the division FBS programs, and in this era with all the transition, the idea is you try to establish continuity, and continuity relates to wins, and it just went through. I think the final figure was barely a quarter of the 132 FBS teams have 5 of the core positions coming back: the head coach, the OC/DC, the quarterback, and did you say middle linebacker? I forget what the other position was.
I jokingly said, well, because we base it on what we know rather than what somebody else tells us, right? So
right.
We say, okay, listen, if I'm going to turn over, I'm going to feel really confident, and it depends on the sport. Same thing applies. If I have in basketball, if I have a really good point guard and a center returning, I feel better about my chances in returning and having success the following year. In baseball, if I'm returning, if I have a star pitcher, a catcher, shortstop, and center fielder, I feel pretty good about my ability to do what I do. And then as a football coach, if the head coach returns, and then my 2 coordinators return, my quarterback returns, and then they said strength coach, which
that's it.
Yeah, they said strength coach, and I because I've never had a program that had a really good strength coach, contrary to whether they thought they were.
Well, I think to be fair to him, and by the way, for Nebraska, I think it was Football Scoop that did the article, so let's credit them. And for Nebraska fans in the Big Ten, there were only 4 teams that met the criteria, and Nebraska was one of them. And I think the strength coach deal is because there's that bridge between spring ball and fall ball, and that the strength coach has the say over the kids. So I think that's where that comes from, right? That he's the guy that kind of has the same.
He's the off-season coach. He's
Yes,
the off-season coach.
right,
Like
right,
most
right.
strength coaches, is the guy that spends the most time. He kind of identifies who your workers are, who the not workers. Is this team bought in? Are they showing up? Are they working hard? Are they doing all those things?
Right.
But I also know that in some cases, that's the wrong person.
yes.
Like that's
Yes.
literally the wrong. In a lot of cases, that dude is a little too much.
You're right. You're right.
Whatever.
Right.
And if you get a good one now,
Right.
before all the outdoor strength coaches out there get all bundled up, nope. I'm saying in the programs that I've been in,
Right.
one, we didn't look like an off-season weight program. In none of the places that I've ever coached, we didn't win the off-season championship. And we certainly didn't give that power to a coach
Right.
who is going through whatever they're going through.
Right.
That if the strength coach is the identity of your team for 75% of your year, you better have the right dude.
Better have the right to. Yes, exactly right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I said defensively,
Right.
that the coordinator has to have somebody on his defense in the middle of the field
Right.
that will dictate the heavy lifting that needs to happen. Toughness of somebody in the middle of the field who's going to take on their big bruisers.
Yeah.
Somebody that's going to take on their best athlete.
Mhm.
Somebody that's going to look the quarterback, that other position of note and power,
Mhm.
look that quarterback. I need somebody to look Barry Thompson in the eye and say, I got you, QB.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got you. Like, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're doing. I know how you're going to try to move me around.
Yeah.
But yeah, every great defense, we can list them up by dudes in the middle, whether it's Samurai Mike Singletary. We can talk about Ray Lewis in the middle, Nitschke for his full run.
Yeah.
We can go up and down. Every great defense in those eras, there's a dude in the middle who led the way. And Washington, we had Dave Butts.
Right.
Like, he was just like, listen, quarterback, ain't nothing running up here.
Yeah.
Good luck outside with the little dudes.
Right.
Big men out here doing work. So for you, is it safety, middle linebacker? What is it for you?
Yeah, I think it is, because the era that you're talking about, that's the era of the 4-3.
Mhm.
Right. So but when you go to the 3-4 and you have 2 inside backers, you could have a guy. You always want a guy like Ray Lewis. You always want that guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when the era of 3-4 and change the coverages and the match and the quarters coverage that they do, I think it's the safety that you hope has the personality that you're talking about. But he's a safety because he's going to be responsible for setting a lot of stuff coverage wise off of fronts, and he's got to know a lot. And I think that coach now would love to have that Singletary type of Ronnie Lott type of personality back there. That's smart, that's physical, that can get after it and get everybody in the right place.
How difficult is it? Let's start on the offensive side of the ball, Barry, because for an offensive coordinator, how important is it to have that constant leadership, that constant verbiage, like the same verbiage from year to year, having the same philosophy from year to year, the same calendar from year to year? At least you can work from that. How important is it for an offensive coordinator to have that sort of placekeeper, North Star for a really good program?
Yeah, knowing what you have and when you call things is really important. I mean, it changes everything, right? If you know what you have and you don't have to kind of guess, knowing the consistency of people, how they consistently perform, it just makes things a lot easier. Also, you get that time to develop and understand what they're really good at. right? So that if you go back in and you want to tweak things, you can kind of tweak them in the direction of their strengths, and that makes everything a lot easier. As far as language coordinators, I once ran into a guy that was calling plays, and he had these weird names. I thought they were weird, and I said, well, you could call it this, and he goes, yeah, I know I could call it this, and so we went kind of not fighting, but just kind of making suggestions. I thought making something easier, and he very politely turned to me and he said, I have to call the plays. And he says, so all this stuff that I call, it has to make sense to me, right? He has to have a vision in his head. So from a coordinator standpoint, it is important that they have the same language, and because how they call plays, how they see the chessboard is really important. Then the other component of that, yes, you got a multi-year quarterback that you're pretty happy with. You got a multi-year receiver you're pretty happy with, center that you're pretty happy with, guard. It just changes everything. You know what they're good at, what they're not good at. It makes a huge difference when you call them plays.
Let me ask you from the quarterback side, from the offensive coordinator side. Would you rather face a defense where you know the coordinator and you know what you faced him last year,
right,
or would you rather face a guy that has never faced you?
I'm going to ask you. You better know the coordinator before you play him.
Right.
Right. So yeah, I mean, you could go both ways on it, but you better know the coordinator before you play him. You better have an understanding what his philosophy is, where he likes to get down, what he likes to do in certain situations, what his coverage is, and what his tendencies are. You better know that. Now, a guy that you played multiple years, yeah, you'll know what he does, but then the flip side is he knows what you like to do too. So you'll see this. I think I've talked about this. Sometimes you'll see this on TV when the pro season kicks off. Those teams that have new coordinators and everybody's excited about the team, they'll go on a surprising 4-game run, maybe 2-2 when everybody thought they were going to go 1-3, or they'll be 3-1. But those coordinators then will catch up with what they're doing. And then that team that you're really excited about, that really wasn't all that much, they regress back to the mean because now, right? they regress back because the guys figure it out really quickly. There aren't that many new things under the sun. It's just things that you can kind of, and you'll also see it in games. Sometimes there'll be a big game and you're really excited for a big game, and you sit down, and all of a sudden the team that you're not cheering for just runs through your team like butter. And you're like, oh my gosh. And you want to turn the TV off, but you hang with it a little bit. And then slowly, you get to the half and it's a 3-point game. Well, what happened was that coordinator, whatever side of the ball, he had some things that the other coordinator wasn't expecting. It took him a little while, but he figured it out. Okay, here's what they're doing. Here's our adjustment. Let's go play football, get back into it, play defense, and those things happen. So you do see it early in pro games. You will see it in a pro game. Sometimes a big game where the coordinator will tweak something, but they'll catch back up. Yeah, so it's part of the chess match of playing.
I think it's always fascinating that when you see the mid majors, or you see the FCS schools get a chance at a big school, and then they get them on the heels, and you go, wait a minute, like Liberty's renowned now,
right?
For James Madison, App State, a couple of folks from back in the Virginia area that they catch the bigs, and
let's bring it home. Noah Walters at North Alabama against Florida State.
Yeah, get him on the heels.
Had a heck of a first half, right?
Yep.
And they said, okay, well, then Florida State said they just started to do Florida State things, right?
Well, they started leaning on them, and that's the thing that again, if you're a big boy, you playing the dance off battle isn't how this is supposed to go,
right?
If you're dancing with the little dudes, you deserve to get stressed.
Yeah.
But we try to get into the things that work and the things that don't work. And a big part of it, like you said, we were sending back and forth these concepts, right?
Yes,
And I've said for as long as I've known you that mesh concepts really are difficult to defend.
They are.
If run properly. If run and if run properly and the right decision is made.
Right.
And that there's always a right decision in a mesh concept. Yeah. There's always somebody that they can't defend.
Yeah, and the air raid guys have kind of added to it. They should just run it kind of flat with 2 receivers crossing. But what they've done now, they'll go out of trips and they'll add a third guy over top of the ball a little bit deeper. So the kind of weapon that the defense deployed is they would just exchange between the linebackers. So as a quarterback, if you really were keying, most of the time you kind of key the Mike, you want to throw away from him, right? But now they have an exchange, and so okay, now you're relying on people sitting down on Jones and stuff like that. Well, as they sit, the hole is behind them. And so you'll see that a lot too, that goes on with that. But we were talking about plays. I think you're heading into an era of passing game, DP, that you would actually love. I talked to you. I think option routes are going to become more prevalent because of all the match and quarter stuff that people can deploy and kind of bracket all over the place and take things away from you. It's tough to get guys open, like wide open, unless you're in man. So these kind of option routes are going to be coming more and more in vogue. And I think it's an era of football that you would really, really love because it just makes sense. If he's inside leverage, I'm going to go outside, that type of thing.
Well, it's always this, that. So I was kind of a blend, running back, wide receiver, flanker, as Nebraska would call it, the wing back.
Flanker. You said flanker. You put your hand down on the dirt. Get out wide and get in that 3-point stance. Here's my guys from the Jet. That was a heck of Johnny. Was it Maynard?
Maynard. Maynard was a dude. He was a dude.
He could
run. He could run. That was the thing, right? But him and Blitnikoff, right? They're hand down. But I always felt like, if there was a corner, first of all, I still thought I could outrun him, but I was more physical than him because I was running back. Right. If it was a linebacker, he wasn't going to be able to run with me.
Right.
If it was a safety, I got one. Like, this is the thing. So let me get out here, and if you give me an option, we didn't have an option route in 1980.
Right.
Listen, if they had that juke route back in 1980,
yes.
I'd have had Hubert Davis's pass catching record. I'd have broke that 100.
Yeah.
Like me and Barry would have just played pitch and catch.
Yeah.
For a quarterback, the juke route, is that a trust route? Is that a confidence route? Is that what? Or is that
just to catch some listeners up, there's a concept that's become real popular. The Patriots ran it for a while. There was a Super Bowl a few years back where the Patriots ran against the Rams, and in 3 successive plays, they ran the same play. Ball went 3 different spots, ended with Gronk really close to the goal line, and they wound up scoring. So it's a 5-wide play, and it's called Hoss. Hoss is for hitch and then seam, so HS seam. So the 2 outside receivers, the 1 and 2 on either side, are running a hitch and kind of a slot fade. And then the Y is running what's called the Y juke. Now, when they spread out and say they come, that Mike is isolated, his idea is to kind of square him up and then juke him and take advantage of his leverage and get open. It's also good against 1 high, right? Because you got that slot fade. You have your answers against hot. If they want to send 6, you've got those 2 hitches on the outside. But it just exposes, it puts one of your better route runners on the least best pass defender, which is typically
it was Edelman. It was Edelman Amendola in the slot against either a third linebacker,
right,
or a nickelback who just wasn't ready.
Right. No, it's just not the matchup. And then you think about it, you say, well, what if they go man? Well, if you go man, if guys are familiar with it, now we're getting a little geeky with football talk, it actually starts to look like Y stick with a slot fade, and that's actually more room for the stick to operate. The traditional thing is on trips, if you're running stick, you'll have some type of vertical release and out and an out, right? That's real traditional. But now you have that hitch and you have that slot fade for number 2 that's creating space for the stick to come in and operate. So it's just a really useful play. And from a quarterback perspective, it's what I call it. I heard this on a podcast, Caleb Coral. He says it's a reactionary throw. It's not like 1, 2, 3, and I got to hit it. It's whatever my footwork is, and I have to be ready to throw, and I'm going to react right when my guy gets open. So that kind of stuff makes a lot of coaches nervous, but there's ways of kind of trimming it down to making sure that the menu of options for that creative receiver is either 1, 2, or 3. And if you just do it over and over again, I can recognize when he's choosing number 1, number 2, or number 3, and that'll help the quarterback a lot too.
This is how you know this was my QB, because he said when my receiver gets open. He didn't say if. He said when DP get open,
right?
And it wasn't no question.
Right. Yeah.
No.
So you'll see that.
And we coached it the same way, which is really funny.
And there's other ones that have been available. Like, for instance, some of the pros have a route from number 1 where he's outside and he comes in at a 45-degree angle toward the hash, and then will bend back out, almost like a sideways V. Mm-hmm. But what both the receiver and the quarterback are looking at is the position of the defender. So if the position of the defender, if I'm the receiver, I'm running toward the hash, and that defender is in front of me, both I know and the quarterback knows that I'm going to kind of cut that V in half. Now, if the guy defending me is on my hip as I'm heading in, then both I and the quarterback know that I'm going to make it more like a full sideways V and get out of 45. So that's an option route where, you're both looking at the same thing and you're making a decision off it. Tennessee a couple years ago ran a switch. You would love this one too. You ready?
Yep.
This switch concept. So what they would do 2x2 or whatever it was, they had a front side concept. So let's say it's 5 steps, whatever it is. And if the quarterback didn't throw it, what he would do was turn to the backside. Now, what was going on the backside, the 1 and 2 receivers would switch. So the number 1, if he was on the line, he would go first. Number 2 would go behind him. But then they had rules because they're running with their eyes up. So if number 1 comes in and he looks up and he sees a safety on the hash, as soon as he clears the linebacker, he's going to sit in that spot. Now, if he comes in and there's no safety there, he's going to keep going. The inside guy who winds up outside, same thing. He's running with his eyes up. And if he sees a zone corner sitting off and getting depth, he'll park it at 10 yards. If it's press man as he goes, there's nobody in front of him, he'll keep going. So the quarterback, when he turns, the first thing he's going to do is locate the safety, right? So if I'm turning from, say, right to left, the first thing I'll do is locate the safety because that'll tell me whether my guy's going or sitting down. It's a really useful concept. Pretty simple to do, pretty simple to rep, and it provides a lot of answers against whatever coverage you have.
Yeah, it was so Barry and I would spend hours just ourselves with the rules of engagement. So what he's teaching his quarterbacks to see and what I'm teaching the receivers to see the same and to have the same thinking. And it was always Barry and I reached a common ground of, if you're running into and it's traffic, keep running. If there's no traffic, sit down.
Yeah.
Sit down. He got you.
Yeah.
Right? If you're being chased, keep running. If you're not being chased, sit down. You're going to get fed. And that was the rule. But getting quarterbacks and receivers on that same thinking is almost the critical part of the passing game. Right. More than route combinations or otherwise, it's being on the same page and having that conversation. Barry, we're going to put it in there, but we're going to go into a space that you and I were both in because we were part of Team USA. And what happened to Team USA last week, we got to talk about.
Okay.
That is unacceptable, and we need explanation for some folks. I'm DP. He's Barry Thompson. This is One-on-One.
Watch live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. You're listening to One-on-One with DP on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Are you looking to get into the electrical construction industry or wanting a new scene? The electrical workers of local union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today. Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they've raised wages again, and they're hiring for production operators at $24.62 per hour, which grows to $28.97 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $33.36 per hour, with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
You can help fight deadly diseases like RSV and influenza while getting paid for your time. Velocity Clinical Research is now seeking clinical trial participants in your area. Participants can receive compensation for study-related time. No health insurance is needed to join. Find a study near you at velocitytrials.com. That's velocitytrials.com.
Power combo BOGO? Huh?
Yes, if you purchase an air conditioner, you receive a furnace completely free. At John Henry's, our professionals want to ensure you are comfortable in your home all year long, no matter what Nebraska has to throw at us. Call today to schedule your free estimate and learn more about the free furnace waiting for you. Give John Henry's a call today.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air,
and Electrical.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
I noticed in the article it's spelled D-A-W-G.
Yeah, that's
Now hold on.
That's standard.
Again,
Jake,
journalism.
A dog is a D-A-W-G in
Yeah.
terms of an athlete.
Yeah.
Or someone thinks they're badass, you know.
Yeah.
Dog,
There's no way
D-A-W-G.
in 1985 that was the case. Now this is a recent phenomenon, right?
That's not that new. This is
that's not
this
new.
is not this is since 2000 probably.
D-A-W-G?
Yeah. Where have you been?
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket. In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday. You lost Wednesday. You're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
Don't wait for Lincoln's fireworks stands to open up. Get the good stuff at Roca Crazy Cracker in downtown Roca. Stop in from June 26th through July 4th for the hot spot for rockets and more this Independence Day. Open 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day. Roca Crazy Cracker Fireworks in downtown Roca.
Hey, future Hall of Famers. It's 3-time national champion Rashawn Jackson here to let you know about the Youth Running Backs Camp held on July 6th at the Lincoln Sports Foundation. Come learn from some of the biggest names in football of the state, including Amir Abdullah, Mon Green, Terrell Farley, Demorne Pearsonell, Derek Pearson, Jay Foreman, Todd Euler, Kenny Bell, and myself. And get a free t-shirt with sign up. Please visit theticketfm.com to register. That's theticketfm.com to register. Space is limited, so don't miss your chance. See you there and go Big Red.
On the block with Strick and Austin.
There's that pit in my stomach. I hope that knot gets untangled and untied so that the Royals can be in contention for the playoffs come late August into September. I'm not holding my breath for it, but before I freak out and lose my mind about how bad things are right now, I'm going to choose to look back at last year and remember how bad 56 and 106 felt.
Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. You're listening to One-on-One with DP, brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back. One-on-one. Barry Thompson, Fairfax Football Academy. If you want to check him out, again, find Coach Barry Thompson, Fairfax Football Academy, all over the place. But before we leave today, I'll let him tell you how to find him on social media. some of you coaches, dads, parents out there, reach out because he can help your young people get to whatever it is you want them to get to in the space. The news about football, and again, it's news for a lot of people that we have a Team USA at different levels. It starts early, and it's local, state, region, national, international, all different age groups. And Barry and his family and his group of young men have been a part of this thing, good and bad, for a long while. That leads all the way up to Trent Dilfer and the elite, the elite quarterbacks, the elite 11, doing their thing. But Barry, to have the oldest group, Team USA, get their heads handed to them, not only in the finals but in the semifinals. They lost back to back.
Wow.
And they didn't lose. They never even played. Canada is the world champion. First of all, say that. Canada.
Yeah.
Canada. Look, Barry.
Well,
please,
let me
breaks off Canada, man.
Oh no. Well, let me say, I think I haven't really paid attention to it because I've been out of it for a while. And what I can tell you, just from where I sit, it doesn't seem to have the same presence in my area that it used to. It used to come up all the time. The kids asked me, they have a regional thing here in DC, and I knew it was coming around because the kids would ask me about it. I would see stuff. I knew who was running it. So I don't know if the program itself has kind of changed. They were big about, they had a heavy influence when the concussions were about being the lead on, tackling safely and all that stuff. They had a huge presence from the NFL. I think that's where they got their budget from. And I can tell you, I just don't have the sense. I don't get as many questions. Hey, I made the national development team. There's something going on in Baltimore. So I don't know what happened to the program. Now, as far as Canada goes, when I was involved, we played in the international games at Dallas Stadium or Texas Stadium, Jerry's World. And we played a very, 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 very good Canadian team. I was not pleased with my performance as a coordinator, but there was no question that they were a solid defensive team and they were talented. When I was at Woodbury Forest and that Woodbury Forest Episcopal thing, they were both extracting players from one of the Canadian academies up there to come to the States and play. One of them was Terrell Jana, who wound up playing at UVA. So they do have players up there. They do play football there. But losing in the semifinals to Japan, I would imagine that somebody at the top is going to say, hey, let's get this righted around. The clips that you showed me didn't look right. They just didn't. And there could be multiple reasons why that happened, but the fact remains is that it shouldn't happen. Does that make sense?
Yep. To lose to Japan in a thumping, mind you.
Yeah.
And then to go in the consolation game and lose to Austria.
Yeah.
Now listen. No.
Yeah.
No. And some of it, and I'll share this with Harrison and the listeners real quick, that it was about putting some of the best players in the country in these great competitive environments to find out, to wear the red, white, and blue and get to play in Cowboy Stadium and do that whole thing. And yeah, sometimes it was a mismatch, America against whoever they were playing.
Right.
But the other nations have caught up and bypassed because it's not sexy to play Team USA anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's not worth the risk.
Yeah.
And you're also not recruiting the best coaches. You're also not recruiting the best players.
Yeah. And they had a tough calendar when I was there. Like they had this kind of faux, we have a regional, you get invited to national development team. And from the national development team, we're going to select some players. But at the same time, they were aware of how good Canada was and some of these other teams. And so even though they had kind of this faux kind of progression at the national development level, they knew they had to go out and get other players who hadn't been through the cycle to make up those teams. And then you're looking at this is taking place, in late June and July? Some of the top players, what are you going to do? Go play Team USA or, go to your prospect camp and get your scholarship and your NIL deal. So they're in a tough spot when it comes to that. They were tough. It was a tough spot when I was there. And I guess it hasn't gotten any easier, but I'll still say, and everybody knows, it shouldn't have happened.
Well, I mean, this, especially in the NIL days,
right?
That Team USA should have the resources to get players to come in. If you're under agreement, if you're sponsored, if you're under contract, why would you not want to do that?
No,
right?
it's gonna take somebody, right? It's gonna take somebody with some foresight who say, "Hey, this is how we can do this."
Yeah.
Right now, the model that they're using, as evidenced by the result, is not working, and somebody's going to have to fix it. So hopefully, they do.
Let's go into the living rooms around the country.
Okay. All right.
You as a coach, you as a parent, you as a guy that's been a part of the recruiting game. Let's go into the living room and let's have the conversation about priorities. Priorities.
Yeah.
Each group, coach, player, parent, all have a different focus and a different priority in that room. Is that?
It is accurate. But as you're choosing, what's important as a leader is that you're clear on what the priorities are, right? I think you get into trouble when you're trying to please everybody, right?
Well,
That's
each
not
group, group, right? So as a parent, the focus has to be or should be a thing, not always is. As a player, there should be a focus, best fit, but that depends on the player. And then for the coaches, it is to make the sell in whatever way they can make the sell.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. But I think the sell should be, hey, here's what we're going to come here. We want, let's say we're talking about FBS. Let's just not. Okay. Let's knock the amateurism, all that stuff out. We're coming here because we want the type of player that wants to be a pro player. That's the type of guy we want. Now, not everybody's going to make it to a pro. And if you do, here's your career life. So we're going to get you, you're going to go to class. There's no question. You come here, you go to class. Now, in this process, we're going to do the best to develop you into a quality young man, right? Who dresses correctly, speaks correctly, handles himself, and is ready for a professional career, whether it's on the field or off the field. That's what we're going to do with your young man. You turn him over to me, right? That's a pitch. And with money on the table, wise people will tell you the last reason that you should do anything is for money or not for money, right? You just, yes, there's money there. Go get it. But that should never be the first thing in the conversation. And I would think, depending on, who I'm sitting across from, but I would think I'd have enough integrity. Hey, sometimes he's a guy. But hopefully I would be one of those coaches that if money came up first, that I would say to them, that's not what we're about. If you want the best money deal, go somewhere else. Now, I don't know. The coaches that really operate in this space, they're probably that's the dumbest thing in the world. And I will qualify. If I'm sitting across from a future first-round draft, I may politely correct them about when to talk about money, but we're not gonna put money, first. I was like, we'll get to that, son. And by the way, that's not a good tactic. But let's sit down and talk about you and your career and going forward and how we can help you get there. And after we get that done, we'll come back and talk about money. But I think there's a way to keep things in the proper order. But asking for money, asking about money. I mean, you just ask. John used to say, John Thompson used to say, the motivation's in the choosing.
That's it.
The motivation's in the choosing. So if you're sitting down and somebody's saying that's what they want to talk about money, then you understand they're not. How are they going to be a team guy? How are they going to?
They really are letting you know early. Like in that room, in that living room, in the living rooms all over the country.
Yeah.
There are truths being told and then there are lies being told.
Yeah. And to pick up on what we said too, I think it's important, right? We talked about vacuums. I think it's important in that process to communicate to mom and dad that this is how we're going to handle these things with your son. One of the things I saw when Miles was being recruited at Penn, and probably a lot of schools do this, they took all the parents, took all the players out of the room. They had them went off. All the parents were left there, and then entered a couple of UPenn players, and they were simply there to answer any questions that the parents wanted to ask. The premise was that their experience has been that the parents would ask a question that would embarrass the kid, or they wouldn't ask a question because the kid was there, so they removed them. And DP, I'm telling you, the questions that came up for some of these parents, like there
Bruh.
was one mom, I'll never forget it. She says, well, my son has a girlfriend, and if they break up and he's real sad, like, what are you going to do? But this is a real question, right? This is a real question.
But look, Barry,
Yes.
we know that
Yeah.
kid. Like we
Yes. I'm glad the coach didn't hear that thing. But it's those things that come up, and you just have to be really clear about here, as from a coaching standpoint, I think you have to be really clear about who you're looking for and why they would be a part of your program. And that's the thing. I talked to my brother Edwin. He says, why wouldn't you want to come here at Georgetown degree? You're in the city where everything happens, and you get a chance to be a pro ball player. That's what we're looking for, right? That's what we're looking for. If you're not interested in that, then he'll move on.
Oh man, but that's why he's got a winning program.
Yeah, he's done all right. He's done all right.
Yeah, he's done all right. We'll throw the break. We'll come back. First of all, we need to find out what junior college that kid ended up going to. Because he certainly didn't look. There's not a Power 5 coach in the country that signed that kid.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks, Mom. We'll have more conversation with Barry Thompson here on One-on-One on the Ticket.
Back to One-on-One with DP, sponsored by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul on 93.7 The Ticket. Tune in every Wednesday night from 9 to 10 p.m. for the Malone Radio Show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Don't miss the opportunity to learn about the Malone Community Center's goal to eliminate multi-generational poverty in Lincoln and the surrounding area. It's the Malone Radio Show with Executive Director John Goodwin and Sports Director Mike Hunter every Wednesday night from 9 to 10 p.m. on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Where will your path take you, traveler? To seek fortune in a new career? Or on a journey to distant lands for a well-deserved vacation? Wherever you go, one distraction could spell disaster. You can change your fate, adventurer. Don't drive distracted. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they've raised wages again, and they're hiring for production operators at $24.62 per hour, which grows to $28.97 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $33.36 per hour, with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates, with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
You can help fight deadly diseases like RSV and influenza while getting paid for your time. Velocity Clinical Research is now seeking clinical trial participants in your area. Participants can receive compensation for study-related time. No health insurance is needed to join. Find a study near you at velocitytrials.com. That's velocitytrials.com.
Hey guys, it's Bill Bush. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty has opened a new location in Pender, Nebraska, in addition to their office in Lincoln. The real estate world can be confusing, so why wouldn't you want an expert helping you every step of the way? If you're looking to buy or sell farmland in Nebraska, Kansas, or Iowa, give Ethan Sorensen a call today at 402-380-0432 or visit them online at nextagrealestate.com. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty with locations in Lincoln and now Pender, Nebraska.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. And Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Finally, a good reason to have a smart house. Just say Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket, and we'll magically start playing. How's it work? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit ostreetcarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
I noticed in the article it's spelled DAWG.
Yeah, that's
Now hold on.
that's standard.
Again,
Jake,
journalism.
a dog is a DAWG in
Yes.
terms of an athlete.
Yes.
Or some things they're badass, you know.
Yeah.
Dogs,
There's no way
DAWG.
in 1985 that was the case. Now this is a recent phenomenon, right?
That's not that new. This is
that's not
this
new.
is not this is since 2000 probably.
DAWG?
Yeah. Where have you been?
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket. In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels and Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday. You lost Wednesday. You're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels and Joe. You're listening to One on One with DP, brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Final segment before we hand it over to DeMornay Pearsonell that we need to congratulate for getting his master's degree Saturday. Well done, young Pearsonell. Pretty impressive. We've been watching this young man since before he was in high school, and to watch him get his master's degree it's a big deal. But it's kind of why we root for him as hard as we do, and we make as many opportunities as we can. Good people. Barry Thompson, we were talking about being in the living room, kind sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You went through it from the parent side, right?
Well, kind of. Yeah, we didn't have any home visits, but yeah, to me it was a little bit different. My experience with Miles was I was a little sensitive about being a quarterback dad. Right, I was coaching quarterback, and here comes my son. So what we did is I just let Cindy and Miles kind of go off and do whatever they needed to do, and my role was going to be, hey, when it gets down to tight decisions, if there's a tight decision, I'll get involved just to be an extra set of ears, that type of thing. But I wanted whatever was coming his way to come his way, just and not be rejected because here comes a quarterback dad who thinks he knows everything. I didn't want that vibe. And so his was actually unusual. The living room, it did happen in the living room though. And I think I told this story, which he was in that stage, parents of teenagers can kind of relate, where they kind of go up in the room and then you don't see them until they come down, right? So he just suddenly comes down one day in the living room and he goes, Penn just offered me a spot in the Wharton School. And that's all he said. And so there was a long pause. And I go, well, are you done? And he looks at me and goes, yeah. And he goes back upstairs. So mine wasn't really typical. But, I do keep up with my guys that are being recruited and asking them, a lot of questions about, their recruitment. So it helps me keep me current on what's going on, the levels that they're involved in.
There are 2 parts to that deserve consideration. The one, the Ivy League is going through this whole NIL process a little different than everybody else. Are they getting it right or are they getting it wrong?
Listen, you know my whole theory on this money in sports. The collective model is the best model that's out there for sports. Mm-hmm. Anytime that you try to do anything individually in sports, it just hasn't worked. And you look at the NFL, it was revenue sharing. Look at the Big Ten, it's revenue sharing. So the sooner that these people kind of understand that, pick a big Amazon could maybe sponsor the Ivy League, and that they're all going to share the revenue that generates from that, they'll all get wealthy and all the money will be worked out just fine. getting these little individual deals and hustling on your own, it's not going to lead to what people think it can be.
I don't disagree. The other side of it is that he went through the process, and parents can affect recruiting. Like it can affect NIL in a negative way. And more times not. Like once in a blue moon, the parent will make the situation better.
Parents can affect things even before you get to NIL.
Right? Like just getting the deal, getting the meeting.
No, just watching the interaction between these guys that go. What people have to understand about recruiting is that there's a professional on the other end. He's not and it's nothing against any of these coaches, but this is a professional on the other end who makes his living, pays his bills, takes care of his family, has his wife and his home and his bill. He is a professional. And among all the many things that they're looking at to make a decision on you, one is, do I want to work with this guy for 4 years? Right? Do I want to see him every day? Is this the type of dude that I want to work with? And, sometimes you can just watch and you can see an interaction. My brother tells me a famous story. He was 50-50 on a kid. And it was at the end of his baseball. It was at the end in his bag. They have the big bags. And he saw the parents walking toward the player. And he said to himself, if those parents pick up that bag, I'm not recruiting that kid. And it sounds harsh, but what he was looking at was a young man who just give me a sign that you handle your own business. Now you give me another sign that your parents do everything for you. I may have a lot to deal with you as a freshman. Could be true, cannot be true. My brother's a human being just like anybody else. But yes, parents, you may not even get to the NIL.
It's that other part that through all of it, it's that moment that you said that, do I want to work with the young man?
Yeah.
But that the professional coach often makes the decision on whether they want to deal with the parent at all.
Yeah. It is. It's huge. You got a good family, whatever it is. It's just, you got to remember, in most hiring situations, if everybody's honest about it, in most hiring situations, they're looking for a reason not to hire you.
Yep.
That's how they interview. It's just the way people operate. They ask you all these questions because they want to hear an answer that lets them know that I shouldn't hire you, right? And so of all those things, you got to take in consideration, hey, this person that I'm talking to, right? Do I express an interest in them and what they do? I know they're coming after me, but do I kind of show that I care about what they're doing? It's just the most basic thing. And once you show that you care about somebody, they're going to open up. And then you'll get all the information that you need, right? Just by showing that you care. I can't tell you how many quarterbacks I've said they're going somewhere. I said, do you know the OC? No. I said, well, I know his name. I said, well, do you know his background? No. I said, it'd take you a couple of Google hits. Go find out what his background is, what his philosophy is. Matter of fact, click the head coach. You might find out that they just came from the last place together. I said, this is stuff you ought to know. I said, if he was somewhere else, he's a new coach. Go back and look at the film. Look at the offense. Maybe have some questions about a player or two. That's just to get them to understand that I'm sitting down with a guy and I'm expressing a little bit of interest in him. Hey, you want to know about me? I want to know about you too. And great information flows from that. Great information flows.
Way too much sense. But this is why we have the conversations. Let parents, kids, coaches know, listen, there's a way to make this work and there's a way to mess this up. As Barry said. BT, thank you, kind sir. Much appreciated.
Peace out.
That's it for One-on-One. Don't Punt Hour with DeMornay Pierce-Chanel coming up next on The Ticket.